Emotional to physical affair, part 3 ending, all other parts down below. Overall, I'm not sure how I feel. The anger has been mostly sapped from me. I'm still mad at what she's doing, what she's done. I still look at her and see a quitter. Yet I can also see that she's hurting over it and that she regrets it. That makes it hard to hate. As I said, her support from her family is pretty thin. She's lost some of her oldest childhood friends. I'm sure she feels a little abandoned herself, so no wonder she got pushed into a rebound. I still don't regret exposing. I still think it was the right thing to do. Yet, I'd be lying if I didn't feel a little guilt over it. I don't feel hopeful, no more than I have been anyway. I still expect her to come around one day, but certainly not anytime soon. Maybe never, and even if she did, I'm not sure I could go back. But, as I said, I feel like I'll be okay with any outcome. I can't say I really feel sad either. She didn't tell me anything new that I didn't already know, besides that they're having fun, which was my own damn fault. And that's more jealousy than sadness. I just feel okay. I don't know what that means. Am I finally getting around to acceptance? It seems kind of soon. Is this roller coaster just stuck on the tracks right now, down for maintenance, and will start up again tomorrow? Or is this just a side effect of spending time and talking to her? The high of a drug that will soon wear off and leave me back between anger and despair. I guess we'll see what tomorrow brings. I read back what I typed, and I realize most of this has been about her, analyzing her actions and words, trying to figure out what she's doing. It's hard to stop doing, but you're right. I can't fix her. Maybe she doesn't really need fixing at all. I know I do, though. Part of my problem was the idea that this split was a competition, and I had to go out and be happier and live life fuller than she was. Maybe that's a common pitfall, I don't know. But she's an extrovert with a huge circle of friends, and she's out all the time. That's not me. I have a smaller, closer-knit circle, and as an introvert, I often would rather be by myself anyway. So it felt like anything I would do would pale in comparison to what she was doing. That if she were somehow able to see me sitting around playing video games or enjoying a good book while she was out on the town, she'd have pity for me or something. As stupid as that sounds. So I just get trapped, reading online, thinking about her, looking at the clock and wondering where she is right now. Now I'm starting to realize that's a ridiculous way to look at things. I have things that make me happy, I should just do them. Who cares what she's doing? And from last night's talk, it certainly doesn't seem like her life is as happy right now as I was imagining it to be. Not that I should care about that either, but it helps a little. My PS4 has been sitting here gathering dust since mid-December. I have a bunch of games from Christmas to play, but I just haven't felt like doing it. Again, maybe the idea that it would be considered lame compared to whatever she's doing. Screw it, I like gaming, and it'll serve as a nice distraction anyway. I need to dig my telescope out of the basement and get back outside on the next clear night. That's always been my way of getting away from it all, and I need to do it again. I've just made excuses recently. It's been too cold, too tired, whatever. None of that stopped me from using it last winter. Shouldn't stop me now. I'm going to get a guitar and learn it. I tried as a teen, but never stuck with it. My STBX said she wanted to learn a few months ago. I got her a really nice acoustic for about $400. I figured that if she didn't take to it, I would use it. And even if she did commit to it, I would just try to learn it when she wasn't using it. However, she has it now, and in her own words, hasn't had the time to do anything with it. It's likely she never will. What a waste. That's fine. I'll get my own. I'm starting school in a month. My company is sending me back for a computer science degree. I was supposed to start this back in January, but for obvious reasons, I delayed enrolling. I'm looking forward to it now. It'll force me to put my focus elsewhere, and I'll feel like I'm really moving towards accomplishing something and bettering myself. Socially, I do need to get out more and expand my circle a little bit. I don't need a huge support network, but I also know I can't be isolated. An old buddy invited me out for some drinks tonight with some of his coworkers. A few months ago when I was with her, I would have blown it off and said maybe next time. But I took him up on it and met a few new people. I've been doing well reconnecting with old friends, but meeting new people will be tougher. I've never been good at it for a number of reasons, and it's a huge step out of my comfort zone. Today I'm still feeling the same as last night. Not terribly sad, not terribly angry. I'm still a little resentful of what she's done, how she quit, and why I'm here. I don't know if that will ever really fade unless she wants to attempt reconciliation, but the anger has decreased a lot from where it was a few days ago. I can't say I'm happy, but right now I'm content, and for now I'm glad the roller coaster has stopped, although I'm sure it's temporary. Part of me fears I may still be in shock from what I learned last night. The mind movies of her and her rebound have been the worst part of last night and today. I can't believe I brought that on myself last night. A literal 2x4 to the head would feel better. I mean, I had already kind of assumed they were being intimate. If you're going out with someone, it's kind of implied, but at least I didn't know. And I could try to convince myself that she might not be ready for that yet. Now I know, and I can't unknow it. It's like continuing to check a Facebook account for updates from a recent ex. You know, there's nothing to find there but pain, but you keep picking at it anyway, and eventually you see something you can't unsee, and you wonder why you did it to yourself. Sometimes I'm able to easily block them out and focus on something else. Other times, I find myself dwelling for a few minutes and asking myself questions I don't want answers to. Is he better? Is she enjoying it more? Are they trying things we didn't? And eventually I get to the point where my entire body just feels cold and numb, and I have to get up and take a walk and do something, anything, to think of something else. And on a logical level, I know this is all stupid. I certainly can't expect her to be celibate for the rest of her life, no more than I would expect myself to be. And I'm sure the movies I'm playing in my head are much more passionate and fantastic than they actually are in real life. I guess it's a mix of jealousy over someone else having her body and sadness that she, with all of her insecurities about the way she looks, has opened herself up completely to someone else in such a short time. Part of me wonders if I just need a casual encounter of my own to get it out of my system, but I've never been that kind of guy. And I doubt it would really make me feel any better. I know this isn't quite the same as dealing with mind movies of their WS and the other person, but to those who have been in that situation, how did you handle it? When I've tried to detach and stick to business only, she jumps to the conclusion that I'm angry, that I hate her, and that I want nothing to do with her. Then she shuts down and pulls away. I'm not sure if this is a game she plays knowingly or unknowingly to test me and see if I'll reassure her. I'm also not sure if I should just let her throw her tantrum and remain calm. Reassurance seems to defeat the purpose for both of us. It probably doesn't help that early on in our separation, after learning all the details of her emotional affair and physical affair, I wrote more than a couple of angry emails and texts. I failed at following the 180 rule terribly in that aspect, and I'm now making sure I don't do that anymore. However, it's difficult to display happiness, confidence, and all the rest when we're not speaking to each other. And there's not much business left to discuss, so the reasons to talk are becoming fewer and farther between. I know the steps in the 180 rule are supposed to be counterintuitive, but now more than ever, a lot of it feels wrong. I'm not saying I would initiate conversation or contact her every day to talk. That's not good for either of us at this point. If she doesn't say anything to me today, and I don't hear from her for the next week, I'm okay with that. But if she feels the need to talk to me for any reason, I think having a warm, happy, and confident conversation would be more effective than giving her the cold shoulder. I could be wrong, but I believe I will find someone much better than my wife is right now. I still miss who she used to be, and I still hope that she will re-emerge even though it's unlikely. I know many will say that the woman I idolized never existed in the first place. Maybe that's true, but for now she still felt real enough to me. So it's like dealing with two different people, grieving the loss of my wife while also dealing with anger and resentment towards the person who replaced her. I felt a bit of anger again today towards myself and towards her. I reached out yesterday about the rent money she owed, and after she replied, I added, "Thanks for sitting down the other night." I'm sure it wasn't easy to say some of those things, but I'm glad you did. Talk to you soon. And it's been 36 hours since then, and I haven't heard anything back. I shouldn't have done that. And maybe I shouldn't expect anything in return, but not even a simple thanks for hearing me out, or something along those lines. I don't know. I can't help feeling like I was used. She got her chance to clear her conscience, and now she has no reason to talk to me. Which is fine. I'm not gonna chase or keep reaching out. I know I shouldn't keep the focus on her, but I have been trying to focus on her flaws and knock her off the pedestal, so to speak. Maybe I'm trying to convince myself that I wasn't as happy as I'd like to think. She had a terrible temper and would often snap at me like I was a dog, especially when she was under stress, like when she couldn't find her keys, and I'd offer to have you check such and such place. I'd get back, of course. I checked there. In this tone, it would just make me shut down. Sometimes she would notice right away and apologize, but more often she wouldn't. I would just try to shake it off and avoid an argument. Dormant tendencies, I guess, got worse and worse towards the end. When I brought it up in one of our final arguments, she actually believed she had gotten better at it and hadn't done it in a couple of years. Nope, not true. She was a compulsive overspender. We never really picked someone to run the finances. I just kind of assumed the role and was fine with that. We agreed to one rule. If one of us was planning to spend more than a certain amount, we'd run it by each other first. Not for permission per se, but simply so I could check the accounts and move around money bills if needed. In 8 years, I never once told her not to do anything she wanted. And in actuality, she was probably spoiled. She always blew this rule off, and I'd get blindsided by multi-$100 shopping sprees. Most of the time, she'd come home with several bags of clothes and shoes. I'd ask how much she spent, and she couldn't even remember. I'd get frustrated, revisit our rule. She'd apologize and agree to do it next time, rinse and repeat. At one point towards the end, we briefly talked about opening separate spending accounts that we could put money into and spend freely. She was open to the idea, but I didn't want to feel like I was controlling or treating her like a child. Dormant again. Well, those are her problems now, and I'm sure it'll be a tough adjustment for her. Physically, we were totally incompatible. Our desires were totally mismatched. I can count on one hand the number of times she initiated in 8 years, despite me telling her so many times how I'd like that. She probably would have been content to go months without if I didn't initiate. The bonding was good, don't get me wrong, but bland and routine. No attempts to spice it up worked. Anything outside of the normal was discouraged. Nothing special in 8 years. And taking care of my own needs might as well have been grounds for divorce. I wonder how many men in my position would have been driven to cheat themselves. Sorry, not sure if any of that is too graphic for this forum. I digress. There was very little compromise on her end. She would make up her own rules and guidelines, and if I disagreed or thought they were maybe a little unfair, I was accused of a lack of empathy. She would say that it meant a lot to her, so I should just do it, even if I couldn't understand why. One example, we both smoked, but her rule was no smoking in the apartment. I obliged most of the time, but if it was extremely cold out or bad weather, I would sometimes sneak one with a door or window cracked open. When I got caught, it was a huge deal to her, a lack of respect towards her, as she put it. And I'm not saying she was wrong. But when I look at the above list and all the things that frustrated me and her lack of empathy, I realize she's much better at giving that advice than taking it for herself. That's a start. Anyway, I'm sure I could come up with more if I gave myself more time. And while I still fully admit to my own flaws and things I did wrong, maybe I'll write those down later. I think it's important for me to realize that she wasn't perfect either, and is not worth the isolation. I'm looking forward to the weekend. It's the first time since New Year's that I've genuinely been excited for anything. I don't even have any firm plans. I don't have any firm plans yet, but my resolution is to take a break. I haven't done that since New Year's either. Just a couple of days without internet, getting off Facebook and not unloading on friends and family about everything I'm going through. I just want to clear my mind. Of course, as soon as I'm ready to start my break, she contacts me. She sends an email asking about how to set up internet, TV, and utilities at her new place. She asks what level of internet speed is considered good, if we paid for water and electricity separately at our old apartment, and if there are any other utilities to pay for. She does it all with a very cheerful disposition and hopes that we can meet up again soon to exchange the money she owes me. I'm not sure how to handle this. She ignored me for 2 days, and now she needs my help again. My initial reaction is, you threw me aside. I'm not here to help you with any of this anymore. Not to mention, all of those questions can be answered with a quick Google search or a call to her leasing office. She has to know that, so why is she bothering me with it? Is it just to see if I'm willing to help, or to gauge my mood since our last conversation? I can't blame her for that, since I haven't done a great job of hiding my angry mood swings from her in the past. But at the same time, it does seem somewhat manipulative of her. Should I help her out, showing her that I can still be friendly, only to have her ignore me again until she needs something else? Or should I ignore her, sending the message that she has to figure these things out on her own now? But then she'll probably interpret that as me being angry and hating her, and she'll pull away again. Or should I reply and just be honest, telling her that I'm not angry, but I'm not going to help her with this? And then let her react however she chooses. But is that being too difficult? I am so tired of overanalyzing all of this and feeling like I'm walking on eggshells every time we talk. This is what she wanted. She threw all of this away, and now she still expects me to help her with everything. I'm not sure if she's trying to test if I'm still there for her, or if it's just an automatic response for her to come to me for help. I should have told her to ask her boyfriend, but I chose to tell her that she will have a lot of these types of questions. I don't feel comfortable playing the role of advisor or guide in helping her set up a new life without me. I'm not trying to be difficult. And as much as I still care for her, this is what she wanted, and I can't do it for her. She wrote back and told me that she completely understood, didn't blame me, and wished me a good weekend. Aside from the 180 and other strategies, I think sometimes it's best to just say what's on your mind. It's an unfair position for her to put me in, and if my best friend and the woman I loved were still somewhere inside the teenager she's become, she would understand that. And she did. I still have the private investigator set to tail her this weekend and get proof of adultery between her and her new boyfriend. That, coupled with their relationship being plastered all over her Facebook profile, should be enough evidence. Once I have it, I can file for divorce immediately and be completely done within a couple of months. Otherwise, my state requires a year of separation before filing. Before filing for divorce, I could handle my best friend divorcing me if we exhausted all options and decided this simply couldn't work. I'd still be crushed, but I'd eventually get over it and be fine. It's the affair, the trashing me behind my back, the quitting without trying to resolve anything, that will take a long time to get over. I may never be able to do it. She knows this, and I've told her that if I find out, I just can't be friends with her ever again. It's her fault for taking the coward's way out. I'd like to think it's not guilt so much as it is that she really does care about me, but simply does not find us compatible as a husband-wife pair. Maybe she's right, but I would have at least liked a chance to try and address the issues. For our entire 8 years together, she was always a weekday 9-to-5 worker. For 7 of those years, I worked a much odder schedule. Some nights, weekends, for a long time I was doing overnight shifts on set days. This actually helped mask this difference. She could go out and have her social needs met. Some nights, weekends, for a long time, I was doing overnight shifts on certain days. This actually helped mask this difference. She could go out and have her social needs met and not feel bad about leaving me behind because I was at work. On the other hand, I would get a couple days off during the week while she was working, and this was my alone time to recharge my batteries and enjoy my own company without feeling bad about it because she was at work. We both had this separate time to do what we wanted, and therefore made the most of the time during the week that we spent together. In July last year, I got a promotion and moved to a weekday 9-to-5 schedule. We were both excited about it because we would now get a lot more time together, entire weekends, etc. For a couple of months, it was great, and we were out and about all the time. After a while, it started to drain me, and I think we both started to feel guilty about it. Now, if I wanted some time to myself, I couldn't get that without actively choosing myself over her or her social outings. And there was a lot of guilt that came with that. If she wanted to go out on a Friday with a group of people and I simply wasn't feeling it, she was then forced to choose between them or me. And I'm sure she felt bad about that too. There were other issues at play between us. The stress of my new job at the same time surely didn't help. But I think this personality clash only helped us grow apart faster. And I don't think either of us actually realized what was going on or why. I never put it together until just now, and I'm sure she hasn't thought about it at all. Maybe that means we were fundamentally incompatible. But I'm sure there are plenty of happy married couples who have the same introvert-extrovert difference. More likely, we should have recognized it, talked it out, and tried to reach some kind of compromise. Instead, we just ended up leading separate lives towards the end, and it's no surprise that an OM wormed his way into the marriage. I have to accept some fault in letting it get to that point, but then again, so does she. In an email from the PI this morning, he says he got plenty of evidence of PDA last night and will go over more in detail tomorrow. I assume I'm going to get to look at some pictures and/or video. That's going to be tough. It doesn't sound like he got evidence of them spending the night together, though. My STBX made it pretty clear that they were going to be crashing at his place, which is where I told the PI to stake out. However, looking at Facebook this morning, I see photos of him and her at our apartment. They must have gone there instead. There are photos of him playing with our dog, knowing they slept in our bed. It should be a kick in the gut, but instead it's a kick in the ass. I know I need to file now. It's probably going to cost me some more money to get the last piece of proof. I will need to repeat this next weekend, but that's fine. It's funny, the worst pain was realizing how much I missed the dog. I have tried putting her out of sight, out of mind for the last 2 months, but that picture brought it all back. Top priority once I have my new place and new dog. I'm not going to sit around waiting a year for a no-fault filing. Right now, she wants no alimony because she's excited about her freedom, and she actually said she's excited to struggle financially. I understand that sentiment. It'll be fun for a month or two, but then it won't be anymore. All I need is my mother-in-law or one of her cheerleader friends planting a bug in her ear, and all hell will break loose. I'm getting out before that happens. I have seen the pictures she has posted over the last couple of days. I really don't find her that attractive anymore. Objectively, she has lost a ton of weight in recent months and looks better than she ever has, but it doesn't really do anything for me. I had the same feeling sitting down at dinner last night. I just see her as a stranger, like that song Somebody That I Used to Know. I take that as a good sign, and I hope it continues. I meant to go to church this morning, but last night was a late one. The perks of single life, I suppose. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. I tailed them and got evidence of all the PDA I'll need. I haven't been sent any pictures or videos yet, which is fine. I'm not looking forward to seeing it, really. He has yet to catch them spending the night somewhere together. That's the last piece of the puzzle I need. Hopefully I'll get it this week. I met her at our apartment tonight, since she was already going to be there packing her things. She needed to give me rent money, and I was supposed to bring one of the 2 TVs I took when I moved out. I forgot to bring it, of course. I plan on holding on to it until I get all the rent money from her that I'm owed. When I got there, she was in the bedroom crying. I asked her what was wrong, but I made no move to comfort or console her. She told me she had started to sort through photos of us to pack up, and everything had started to catch up with her. I left all those photos there when I moved, because if she's truly done, why would I want them? In her haste to run away at full speed, she hadn't made any effort to come back and pack up anything. But I knew when she did, it wouldn't be easy. She still remained adamant that she was doing the right thing, but she cried about all the friends and family, my family, that she had lost. She also talked about how she had hurt me and how her life is suddenly so different now. Not bad, but different. Of course it is after the smoke clears from her wreckage. The only circle of friends she really has left are her boyfriend and his friends. I told her that I could understand that being overwhelming and left it at that. After she calmed down, we grabbed a quick bite to eat. I pried some information out of her about her weekend plans, helped her pack for a little bit, and then left. As I have also found out through various sources, she's going down the same path with her boyfriend. Immediate intimacy divided by where went. At the beginning of this month, she told him she loved him before they were even official. He didn't say it back because he has common sense. But she doesn't regret saying it because life's too short not to say how you feel. Say how you feel. She's already dragged him to meet her family. It's like watching me and her all over again. At this point, I don't know if this guy is actually genuine or if he knows she's vulnerable and using her for the great sex part of the list. Not that it's my problem either way. After seeing this so clearly, I'm conflicted as to how I feel about it. On one hand, I married someone who is unstable. It's a bit of a relief. I had my own faults and shortcomings, but her problems are much bigger than mine. Even if I had been a perfect husband, we would have still ended up here. I can't fix her, so I'm just gonna focus on working on myself. Her problems are now the new guys, and then the next guys, and then the next guys. On the other hand, I now realize that this relationship is doomed. Either she will end up sabotaging it by moving way too fast when he's not reciprocating, or he is using her and will eventually get tired of it and move on. Or it will just fall apart after the honeymoon phase, like most rebounds do. Either way, once it ends, she'll be left feeling down and with virtually no friends or guy to latch onto. Her greener grass will end up being mud, and suddenly all the decisions she made that she thought were right will become uncertain. And if when that happens, I'm not sure I've completely closed the door on the idea of reconciliation. It would have to be a very slow process, completely opposite of our original courtship. And if at any point she was impatient or offended by that, she could leave. I would need to see real changes from her. And now I know what those changes are. She would need to make some changes of her own. In reality, it's more likely to fail than succeed. But right now, I would be lying to myself if I said I wouldn't at least try. Then again, let's see how I feel in 3 months, 6 months, or whenever her bubble bursts. That also makes me unsure about filing for divorce now. I'm still going to have the private investigator follow through and have it in my back pocket if she changes her mind about alimony or anything else. But I don't know if filing a separation agreement would have any positive outcome. I think I may be better off completely detaching from her for a good 2 to 4 months with no contact at all. I'll focus on myself while she plays out her fantasy. I'll see where it goes. Like I said, by that time I may be completely done and not interested in reconciliation. But until then, I can't close the door until I'm truly ready to do so. It seems like I need those few months of no contact for myself. Also, every time I spend an evening with her, I end up in a fog of my own. I can't keep doing that to myself. I forgot to mention that when we met up last week, I broke away for a minute to retrieve a voice-activated recorder from her car. I had put it in there early on, in our separation, trying to prove the affair between her and the first other man. I had forgotten all about it until now, but I wanted to grab it before she found it, and assumed I had planted it more recently. I got home that night and threw it on the dresser and forgot about it. I figured there was nothing in there that I needed to hear at the time. But then, against my better judgment, I listened to it yesterday. A lot of it was conversations between her and the second other man, and it's amazing to me what people will say or lie about to make themselves feel better. First, some quick backstory. Early on in our marriage, we were flat broke. Like, we had to borrow money from her parents on a Tuesday so we could eat until Friday and pay the bills. Friday and paid them back. Kind of broke. When we joined our finances, we both had a few credit cards, small store cards mostly, all with limits of $500 to $800. They were all maxed out, and most months I simply couldn't keep up with them all. Some of it was naivety, struggles of two people learning to budget together. A lot of it was simply not having enough funds. Both of our credit ratings took a huge hit. Eventually, I liquidated my retirement at work, got a few $1,000s, and finally cleared it all out. Then I started a new retirement account. How she spins this. She thinks I intentionally ignored those cards and sabotaged her credit. Part of my control over her was keeping her from leaving by making her financially unable to do so. Of course, her boyfriend agreed wholeheartedly. It's revisionist history to a degree I can't even comprehend. And even worse, she's just a flat-out liar. She talked to him about how after she left, her first order of business was fixing her credit. So she immediately signed up for a credit monitoring service to keep tabs on things. Her boyfriend commended her on her responsibility and taking back control of her financial situation. I actually laughed out loud while I was listening. I signed us both up for that service years ago, after clearing our debts, so that I could monitor and work on rebuilding both of our credit scores. She totally forgot it existed at all until we were splitting up our finances, and I reminded her that she needed to cancel it or change the billing information to her new account. I've heard and seen stories of couples who decided they weren't right for each other, split amicably, and remained close friends afterwards. Initially, I wanted that really badly. Even if we weren't destined to remain husband and wife, I could have at least settled for best friends. But once you factor in everything, the lies, cheating, and trashing me behind my back, why bother? When I first confronted her about the trash talk, she gave me some bull about how she had lost herself for a while. And that wasn't her. And that wasn't what she really thought of me. And she was so sorry. Well, now I can see that it's still going on. So, either she truly believes that kind of crap about me, that I intentionally tanked her credit to keep her prisoner, in which case, why does she have any interest in being friends? Is she just dangling me along to get more out of me and keep me on a string until the divorce is final, easing her guilt? Or is she deliberately lying and distorting the past so that she can manipulate her new boyfriend into being her rescuer, so that he'll give her the moon? Maybe it's a little bit of both. I'll probably never know. I don't even care enough to try to overanalyze it. All I know is that whatever the reason for her whitewashing, it's not a quality I would want in a friend. It was a strange morning. I woke up in a funk and couldn't pull myself out of bed. A voice in my head was saying that whatever happened today, none of it was going to make me happy. Why bother? It felt like a huge weight on my chest. I felt like I had backslid all the way back to the day she left, and I couldn't figure out why. Without even really thinking too hard about it in my head, I said, "You have no idea what today will bring. Make yourself happy." And that's all it took. I've had an extra bounce in my step all morning, a renewed energy that I haven't felt in months. I feel good. She hasn't been dominating my thoughts anymore, that way for a few days now. And when I do think about her, I see her faults and flaws as clearly as I remember the good qualities. She's off the pedestal. Just a girl. I still idolize the woman I fell in love with and married, but I also recognize that she's gone and possibly never existed at all. The memory, nothing more. Got to work, logged on to Verizon first thing, and blocked her number. I don't need to hear from her. She still owes me money towards our apartment. She can mail me the check. Otherwise, there's no need for communication. She's not getting any more property from me, no more concessions, no more help setting up her online bill pay, or her wireless internet, or her computer. I don't care what she thinks about that. I don't care what she thinks about me, or how she decides to skew the last 8 years. I don't care if she ever wakes up one day and regrets this, uncutting the strings, detached, and not even reacting out of anger anymore. I just feel totally indifferent. Hoping to hear from the PI today? I want to file ASAP and be done with this. Gonna try to do it without a lawyer. No kids, no property to divide, and she's far too destitute right now to hire her own counsel. Now I have to take the focus off of her and back onto me. I've been saying that I haven't been doing it. I truly feel ready to do it now. I want to find out who I am. I've never been truly on my own before. I went from under my parents' roof to under her parents' roof for a short time to our own place. I'm looking forward to single life. It's scary and exciting at the same time. I do miss the dog, though. I think I'm more upset about that loss than anything else at this point. As strange as it sounds, I'm getting angry because it's been 9 weeks of separation now, and for every day up until yesterday, all I did was roll over, stay out of her way, jump when she said to, give her whatever property and possessions she decided she wanted, and offered to help her pay for things she couldn't afford on her own, like the taxes she now owes because she wanted to file separately. And now, after putting up a single boundary, I'm the bad guy. I'm angry at myself for doing any of this in the first place, already knowing what she was saying about me behind my back and what she was doing behind my back. I know now that I was doing it to try to win her over. I'm not sure if I was trying to win her back as a wife or a friend, but I know I was doing it all to make her think highly of me and keep her happy at my own expense. The things being said and the accusations being made now are just so far beyond the pale. I shouldn't care, but I can't help it. I didn't deliberately ruin her credit to keep her trapped. Apparently, she thinks I have a secret savings account that I've been funneling our money into for years. This one is just funny if it even exists. I'd love to know. Apparently I did that in my sleep. Now she's saying I'm demanding rent money while she's broke because I want her to be miserable. It's as if she knows she can't claim I was physically abusive. No one would believe that, or emotionally abusive. No one will believe that either. So she's going the route of financial abuse. I don't know if she's saying these things to gain sympathy and support, or if she's convinced herself they're true to ease her own guilt. Either way, it's not okay. And now I find myself painted into a corner where I can't win. Door number 1. I continue to wait out our mandatory 1-year separation, with her running around with her boyfriend while I try to move on with a boat anchor around my neck. My neck? Do this for the next 9 months, and pray that she doesn't wake up one day and decide she wants alimony, or access to my retirement accounts, or whatever else she's legally entitled to. Or worse, she gets knocked up by this guy, and I find myself in a potential legal nightmare of support claims and paternity tests. Door number 2, I take my proof of adultery, and file now. Not to tar and feather her, but because it's the only way in my state to circumvent the 12-month separation and allow me to move on faster. But of course, no one will see it that way, and I'll cement my reputation as the monster. Of course, the correct answer is whatever I want, and opinions be damned. I'm not sure what this is yet, though. And though I still lean towards door number 2, I'm not sure why I'm not sure. Still trying to make her happy, worried about my own reputation or what others think. Both some meditation is needed. Retaining my lawyer today. Originally, I wasn't even going to go with counsel. I toyed with the idea of handling this myself, but the last thing I want is to drag her to court only to fail because I wasn't properly prepared. I've come this far, might as well shell out a little bit more to make sure it's done right. My attorney plans on filing early next week. For some reason, I assumed it would take longer. Then again, it's a clear-cut case. And there are no children, property, or finances to split, so I guess it makes sense. Filling out the intake forms tonight, listing property, debts, misconduct, etc., and it suddenly all became too real for me. I know this is what I have to do, and at this point it's what I want to do. But it's still not what I wanted. If that makes sense, I wish we hadn't gotten to this point. I wish the woman I married was still alive. I took a long walk to clear my head, and then finished the paperwork. I spoke to my brother-in-law very briefly today, obviously not tipping him off to anything upcoming. Turns out there's been a family crisis in the past couple of days. My sister-in-law lives halfway across the country and hadn't been in touch with my wife in months. I don't believe my sister-in-law was even aware we had split. But no one had any idea how bad things were until my mother-in-law finally reached out to my wife and brother-in-law a couple of days ago. I was really saddened to hear that, as I'd always considered myself pretty close with them. As with the rest of my wife's family, I'm sure my wife is beside herself. And it's terrible timing, because in the midst of this crisis, here come the divorce papers. I know I'll look like a total heel, and maybe it is a crappy thing to do. I wonder if I should have my lawyer hold off for a little while, let this storm pass first. I don't know. But then I remember that as upset as my wife must be, it's not my shoulder she's crying on right now. It's her piece of crap boyfriend's. That was her choice. So I'll keep moving forward. The sooner this is all over, the better. Weeks later, it's been a while. I filed a couple of weeks ago. She was served shortly thereafter, and it went over about as well as I would have expected. She has firmly welded herself into the victim chair, ramping up the woe is me tales and accusations against me. Despite the fact that I am literally asking for nothing in my complaint, other than the dissolution of the marriage, she has retained her own attorney and is requesting that I pay for it. If I don't settle, then she will counterfile under cruel treatment and come after everything she can. Retirement, possibly alimony, etc. I'm livid. Now my options are to either pay her to go prove adultery, or go into court fighting for everything, where I know the odds will already be stacked against me from the start. And she can turn on the tears and spin her sob stories and leave it up to me to disprove and defend. All she had to do was, well, nothing. She could have simply let her 30-day response time run out. I could have moved forward without her, gotten the divorce finished, without costing her a cent. It's what she wanted, after all. She was perfectly content to go after nothing, wait a year, and file herself. Now all of a sudden, she wants a fight. Then so be it. I will not settle, and I bet she'll run out of money before I do. Just so angry. I've been doing so much better personally, and now that I'm so close to being able to close this chapter, I find myself getting sucked into a bitter fight over nothing. No children, no major assets to speak of, and she'll still bankrupt both of us out of spite. My comment, what an ending. It seems like the marriage is heading for a bad landing and dragging them along with it. What are your thoughts on this? Did the OP improve throughout this series? Subscribe and hit the bell to learn from the next one.